The Galactic Council had seen many problems over the centuries: wars, pirates, rebellions, illegal experiments. But now, one name appeared again and again in official reports: humanity. Every week, new complaints arrived from different parts of the galaxy. Some governments claimed humans were interfering in local conflicts. Others accused them of entering restricted space without permission. A few even claimed that human fleets were secretly building military bases near important trade routes. The accusations kept growing. Soon, thousands of reports filled the Council's archives. Many alien leaders demanded immediate action. "We cannot ignore this any longer," one representative said during an emergency meeting. "Humanity acts as if the rules do not apply to them," another added. The chamber echoed with angry voices. Above them, giant holographic screens displayed lists of alleged violations. The evidence looked serious. The pressure on the Council became impossible to ignore. Finally, the Council voted. An official investigation would begin, and only one person was trusted enough to lead it: Inspector Velicor. The room became silent when her name appeared on the central screen. Everyone knew who she was. Across the galaxy, Velicor had a reputation that frightened politicians, military leaders, and corporate executives alike. She was known for finding the truth, no matter how deeply it was hidden, no matter who tried to stop her. Entire governments had fallen after her investigations. Corrupt officials feared her arrival more than enemy fleets. If Velicor found evidence against humanity, there would be no escape. 3 days later, her ship departed from the Council capital. As stars stretched into lines outside her window, Vela reviewed the investigation files. Thousands of pages filled her screen. Accusation after accusation. Violation after violation. The evidence seemed overwhelming, yet something bothered her. The reports came from many different species, many different regions, but they all sounded strangely similar, almost as if someone had copied the same story and changed a few details. Vela narrowed her eyes. That alone was not proof of anything, but it was enough to make her cautious. She continued reading. For hours, then days. The more she studied the reports, the more questions appeared. Some accusations directly contradicted others. One report claimed humans were expanding their territory aggressively. Another claimed they abandoned valuable systems without explanation. One government accused humans of seeking power. Another accused them of wasting resources, helping weaker worlds. The stories did not fit together. Still, Vela remained professional. Questions were not answers. She would need facts. And facts could only be found in the field. Several days later, Earth finally appeared on her view screen. The blue planet floated peacefully against the darkness of space. Thousands of satellites surrounded it. Civilian traffic moved through organized lanes. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Most species under investigation tried to hide something. But Earth showed no signs of panic. No emergency military activity. No unusual security measures. No attempts to block her arrival. It was as if humanity had nothing to fear. That thought irritated her. Everyone had something to hide. As her ship entered orbit, an unexpected alert appeared. A priority transmission. Vela opened it immediately. The message came from a nearby monitoring station. Its tone was urgent. Emergency situation in the Helios sector. Vela frowned. The Helios sector was far from Earth. She opened the attached files. A small colony world was under attack. An unknown enemy fleet had appeared without warning. Local defenses were collapsing. The planet's population consisted mostly of alien settlers. Less than 1% were human. Vela expected Earth to ignore the crisis. After all, the colony was not their responsibility. Instead, she watched something impossible happen. Across Earth's orbital space, hundreds of human ships suddenly changed course. Military vessels, medical ships, supply carriers, rescue transports. All of them accelerated toward the endangered colony. Within minutes, massive fleets were leaving Earth behind. Vela stared at the screen. No orders from the Council had been issued. No reward had been offered. No strategic value existed. Helping made no sense. Yet humans were rushing toward danger anyway. She quickly contacted a nearby human command station. A human officer appeared on screen. His expression was calm despite the emergency. "Inspector Corps," he said. "How may I help you? Why are your fleets moving?" Vela asked. The officer seemed surprised by the question. "A colony needs assistance." "It is not a human colony." "No," the officer replied. "Then why help them?" The officer blinked. For a moment, he appeared confused, as if the answer should be obvious. Because they're in trouble. Vela remained silent. The officer simply nodded. Then the transmission ended. No long explanation. No political speech. Just a simple answer. Because they're in trouble. The word stayed in her mind. Something about them felt strange. Most governments calculated every action. Every decision required profit, resources, influence, advantage. But these humans had not even asked who would pay them. Hours later, Vela made a decision. Instead of beginning her investigation on Earth, she would follow the human fleet. If humanity truly had something to hide, she might find it there. Her ship adjusted course. The stars shifted. The Helios sector lay several light years away. As the journey continued, emergency reports flooded communication channels. The situation was worsening. The enemy fleet was larger than anyone expected. Entire defense stations had already fallen. Experts predicted the colony would be destroyed within hours. Yet the human fleet never slowed down. Not once. Finally, the battlefield appeared on her sensors, and what Vela saw made her blood run cold. The enemy fleet was enormous. Thousands of warships filled space. Dark vessels surrounded the colony like predators surrounding wounded prey. Even from a distance, the numbers were terrifying. No sane commander would attack such a force. No sane commander would even try. Then the human fleet arrived. Compared to the enemy, they looked small, hopelessly small. The odds were impossible. The outcome seemed certain. Yet human ships moved forward anyway, not retreating, not hesitating, charging directly toward a battle they could never win. Vela stared at the tactical display. For the first time in many years, she felt genuine shock. Humanity had come here knowing the risk, knowing the cost, knowing they might all die, and they had come anyway. As the first weapons lit up the darkness of space, one question echoed inside her mind. What kind of species willingly flies into a hopeless battle for strangers? And for the first time since accepting the investigation, Inspector Velacour began to wonder if the reports about humanity had missed something very important. The darkness of space exploded with light. Thousands of weapons fired at once. Bright beams crossed the battlefield like rivers of fire. Missiles raced through the void. Defense shields flashed and cracked under endless attacks. Inspector Velacour watched everything from the bridge of her ship. Her crew remained silent. Nobody could believe what they were seeing. The enemy fleet outnumbered the humans by almost 5-1. Every tactical prediction showed the same result. The human fleet should be destroyed. Yet the humans continued moving forward. Their formation never broke. Their commanders never hesitated. It was as if they had already accepted the possibility of death. Vela enlarged the battlefield display. The colony world appeared in the center of the conflict. Millions of civilians were trapped below. Families, workers, children. Most of them belonged to species that had never signed alliances with Earth. Many of them had never even visited human space. Yet humanity had crossed several sectors to save them. The enemy fleet opened another massive barrage. Hundreds of projectiles rushed toward the planet. Before they could reach the atmosphere, human warships moved into their path. Explosions filled space. One human cruiser vanished in a ball of fire. Then another. Then another. Vela expected panic. She expected retreat. Instead, the remaining ships advanced even faster. The human line held. For every ship lost, another moved forward to take its place. The colony remained protected. A strange feeling began growing inside her. Confusion. Nothing about this battle made sense. Most governments protected their own citizens first. That was normal. That was logical. Yet humanity was sacrificing valuable warships to save complete strangers. The tactical numbers became worse every minute. The enemy fleet kept growing. More vessels arrived through hyperspace gates. The attackers clearly expected an easy victory. What they did not expect was humanity. Hours passed. The battle continued. Human ships suffered heavy losses, but they refused to abandon the colony. Then something unexpected happened. A damaged transport vessel emerged from the planet's atmosphere. The ship was overloaded with civilians. Its engines barely worked. Enemy fighters immediately targeted it. The transport had no chance. Vela watched the situation unfold. Even from her position, she knew what would happen. The transport would be destroyed. The civilians would die. Then a human destroyer suddenly changed course. Without receiving any visible orders, without hesitation, it accelerated directly toward the incoming enemy fighters. The destroyer placed itself between the transport and danger. Its shields absorbed countless attacks. The ship suffered massive damage. Sections of its hull exploded. Entire decks lost power. Still, it stayed in position. The civilian transport escaped. Only then did the destroyer pull back. The crew aboard that ship had risked their lives for people they had never met. Vela stared silently. No political advantage existed. No military benefit. No strategic reward. Just sacrifice. Pure sacrifice. The battle finally began, turning several hours later. Human reinforcements arrived. Dozens of additional fleets exited hyperspace. The enemy commanders realized their surprise attack had failed. Slowly, they started withdrawing. One by one, their vessels retreated. Soon, the surviving attackers disappeared into deep space. The battle was over. The colony had survived. Cheers erupted across communication channels. Rescue teams immediately began helping the wounded. Medical ships landed on the planet. Engineers started repairing damaged infrastructure. Human crews worked nonstop. Nobody celebrated victory. Nobody demanded rewards. They simply focused on helping survivors. That interested Vela more than the battle itself. She decided to investigate further. For the next several days, she reviewed combat records. Thousands of files became available. The deeper she looked, the stranger the picture became. Again and again, she found similar incidents. Human fleets rescuing isolated colonies. Human doctors treating foreign civilians. Human engineers rebuilding worlds damaged by disasters. In some cases, humans had spent years helping planets recover, and many of those planets had never repaid them. The record stretched back decades. Mission after mission. Operation after operation. Most had never been reported publicly. Many were completely classified. Vela expected to find hidden motives, secret agreements, economic benefits, political gains. Instead, she found almost nothing. The action seemed genuine. That troubled her, because it directly contradicted the accusations she had been given. One evening, while reviewing another archive, an alert appeared on her private terminal. The signal bypassed every security layer. Someone had sent it directly to her. Her hand immediately moved toward the control panel. The source was hidden, anonymous, highly encrypted, professional. Vela opened the message. A single line appeared on the screen. "You are looking in the wrong place." Her eyes narrowed. More text appeared. "The truth is not on the battlefield." A file attachment followed. Inside were coordinates. Nothing else. No explanation. No identification. Just coordinates. Vela checked the location. The system was far beyond normal trade routes. Remote, uncharted. Official records listed almost nothing there, which immediately made it interesting. She continued examining the file. Eventually, she found a short note hidden inside the encrypted data. Only 6 words. "Find what humanity is hiding." Vela leaned back in her chair. At last, something that resembled a lead. For days, she had been finding evidence that portrayed humanity in a positive light. Too positive. No civilization was perfect. No species acted selflessly all the time. Perhaps this hidden facility contained the answers. Perhaps the accusations were true after all. Maybe humanity had simply become very good at hiding its darker side. She began running additional scans. The coordinates pointed toward a forgotten star system near the edge of explored space. Few ships traveled there. Almost no official traffic existed. Yet long-range sensor records revealed occasional human activity. The location definitely mattered. The question was why. Her instincts told her to investigate immediately. Something important waited there. Something powerful enough that an anonymous source risked contacting her. Vela closed the files and stood from her chair. Outside the observation window, stars drifted silently through space. Somewhere among them lay the mystery she had been searching for. The battle at the colony had raised questions. This message might finally provide answers. But deep inside, another thought bothered her. What if the sender did not want her to find the truth? What if this was a trap? She looked once more at the mysterious coordinates glowing on her screen. Then she made her decision. Set a course, she ordered calmly. The bridge crew looked up. Destination, Inspector? Vela's eyes remained fixed on the coordinates, the source of our mystery. As her ship turned toward the distant stars, she had no idea that the journey ahead would uncover a secret capable of shaking the entire Galactic Council. And somewhere far away, hidden in the darkness, unknown eyes were already watching her approach. The journey took 4 days. 4 long days through some of the emptiest regions of known space. Inspector Vela Kor stood near the observation window of her ship and watched endless stars drift past. The mysterious coordinates remained displayed on her private screen. The anonymous message still bothered her. Someone wanted her to find this place. But why? If humanity truly had a secret, why reveal it? And if someone wanted to trap her, why go through such effort? The questions followed her every hour of the trip. Finally, on the 5th day, her ship arrived in the remote system. Immediately, something felt wrong. The star system was missing from most public navigation charts. There were no colonies, no trade stations, no mining operations, nothing. At least, that was what official records claimed. But her sensors told a different story. Large energy readings appeared near the outer edge of the system. Vela frowned. Magnify that sector. The main screen zoomed in. Several officers exchanged surprised looks. Floating in the darkness was a massive structure. Vela had seen military stations before. She had seen shipyards large enough to build entire fleets. But this facility dwarfed them all. The station stretched for dozens of kilometers. Its metal surface reflected the distant sunlight like silver glass. Countless docking bays covered its outer sections. Transport ships constantly moved in and out. The facility was clearly active, very active, yet the entire operation officially did not exist. Interesting. Any weapons? Vela asked. A technician checked the scans. Very few. That answer surprised her. Most secret facilities protected themselves heavily. This station appeared different, almost peaceful. The mystery deepened. As her ship approached, a transmission arrived. A human face appeared on screen. A woman wearing a simple station uniform. She looked calm, almost welcoming. Unknown vessel, she said politely. You are entering restricted space. Vela showed her identification. The woman immediately recognized it. Inspector Kor. No fear, no panic, just recognition. You know who I am? The woman smiled slightly. Most of the galaxy knows who you are. That was true. Vela expected security teams to deny her access. Instead, the woman surprised her again. You may dock. Vela blinked. That's all. You came looking for answers. The woman nodded. Perhaps you should see them. The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Vela's crew looked just as confused as she felt. Nothing about the situation matched normal behavior. Still, she proceeded. Minutes later, her shuttle entered the station. The docking bay doors opened. Then Vela stepped inside, and everything she expected vanished. The station was not filled with soldiers. It was not packed with secret weapons. There were no laboratories creating forbidden technology. Instead, there were people, thousands of people, aliens, everywhere. Vela stopped walking. For a moment, she thought she was seeing things. Different species filled the massive halls. Families moved between housing sections. Children played near gardens. Medical workers helped elderly refugees. Volunteers distributed food. The entire station looked more like a city than a military installation. "What is this place?" Vela asked quietly. The human guide beside her answered, "A shelter." Vela turned toward him. "A shelter?" The man nodded. "For anyone who needs one." She looked around again. Some species were familiar. Others came from worlds located thousands of light years apart. Many belonged to regions currently suffering wars. Others came from territories controlled by criminal organizations. Then realization hit her. These were refugees. All of them, thousands upon thousands, maybe even millions across the entire station. The scale was unbelievable. Vela spent the next several hours touring the facility. Every section revealed another surprise. Housing districts, schools, medical centers, rehabilitation programs. Everything was carefully organized. Everything was funded by humanity. Eventually, Vela entered one of the medical wings. There she met an elderly alien woman. The woman belonged to a species whose homeworld had been destroyed years earlier. Vela remembered reading the reports. The disaster had killed billions. The survivors smiled warmly. "You're the inspector." Vela nodded. The woman pointed toward the busy hospital around them. "The humans built this place." "Why?" The old woman laughed softly. "You should ask them." Vela did, again and again. Throughout the station, she spoke with refugees. Each story sounded impossible. A family rescued from pirates. A colony evacuated before a planetary disaster. Prisoners freed from slavery. War survivors given safe homes. The stories never ended. And one detail remained consistent. The humans had asked for nothing in return. No payment. No territory. No loyalty oaths. Nothing. The more Vela learned, the more uncomfortable she became, because the evidence completely contradicted the investigation she had been assigned. Later that evening, the station administrator finally granted her access to restricted records. "This should answer many of your questions," he said. Vela entered a secure archive room. Rows of data terminals filled the chamber. She sat down and opened the files. At first, everything appeared normal. Rescue missions, transportation records, supply operations. Then she discovered a hidden folder. Her instincts immediately activated. The folder contained classified intelligence reports. Very classified. She opened the first file and froze. The report described attacks against civilian colonies. The same attacks humanity had been blamed for. Vela continued reading. Then her eyes widened. The evidence pointed somewhere unexpected. Humanity had not organized those attacks. Someone else had. Someone inside the Galactic Council. Her heart began racing. She opened another file, then another, and another. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Certain council officials had secretly funded pirate groups. Those pirates attacked vulnerable worlds. Afterward, false evidence was planted to blame humanity. The accusations had been manufactured, carefully, deliberately, for years. Vela sat frozen in silence. The implications were enormous. If these documents were real, the entire investigation was built on lies. Someone had used the Galactic Council itself as a weapon, and they had nearly succeeded. Suddenly, an alarm echoed through the station. A loud warning tone filled every corridor. Red emergency lights activated overhead. Vela jumped to her feet. What happened? No answer came immediately. Then another alarm joined the first. Even louder, more urgent. Station personnel began running through nearby hallways. Fear appeared on faces she had not seen afraid before. Vela stepped into the corridor. People were rushing toward emergency shelters. Security teams moved quickly toward defensive positions. Then a voice thundered across the station's communication system. "Attention, all personnel." The announcement paused. Its next word sent a chill down her spine. "Unknown hostile vessels have entered the system." Vela's stomach tightened. Hostile vessels. At this exact moment, just as she discovered evidence exposing powerful council members. That could not be coincidence. Through a nearby observation window, she looked into space. Dark ships were emerging from hyperspace. Dozens, then hundreds. Their weapons were already charging. Someone had found the station, and someone wanted every piece of evidence destroyed. As the first enemy warships advanced toward the facility, Vela realized a terrifying truth. She was no longer investigating a mystery. She had become part of it, and the people responsible were willing to start a war to keep their secrets buried forever. Red emergency lights flashed across every corridor. Warning alarms echoed through the massive station. Thousands of refugees rushed toward shelters. Children held their parents tightly. Medical staff moved injured patients into protected areas. Fear spread quickly. Inspector Vela Kor stood near the observation window and watched the enemy fleet grow larger every second. More warships emerged from hyperspace. Then more and more. This was not a pirate raid. This was a military operation. A very expensive military operation. Someone had sent enough firepower to erase the station completely. The timing was impossible to ignore. Only minutes earlier, Vela had discovered evidence linking powerful Galactic Council members to years of corruption and false accusations. Now an attack fleet had arrived. The message was clear. Someone wanted the truth buried. Forever. A station officer ran toward her. "Inspector, please come with us." Vela followed immediately. They moved through several security checkpoints until they reached a command center deep inside the facility. Large tactical displays covered the walls. Human officers worked rapidly at their stations. The atmosphere was tense but controlled. Nobody was panicking. That surprised her. Most governments would already be discussing evacuation. These people were preparing to fight. A senior commander approached. His uniform showed signs of years of service. "Inspector Kor." "Commander, we believe the attackers are here for the station archives." Vela nodded. "I believe the same." The commander activated a holographic display. Enemy ships appeared across the system. Their movements were organized, disciplined, professional. These were not random mercenaries. They know exactly where to strike. The commander said, "How?" The commander looked at her. "Someone gave them our coordinates." The answer was obvious. An insider. Someone with access to highly classified information. Vela suddenly realized how deep the conspiracy might be. If council members were involved, they probably had allies everywhere. Military offices, government agencies, intelligence networks. The corruption could reach across half the galaxy. A new alert appeared. Enemy ships were entering weapon range. The battle was about to begin. The station's defense platforms activated. Massive guns rotated toward space. Energy shields surrounded the facility. Then the first enemy volley arrived. The stars outside vanished behind explosions. The entire station shook violently. Warning systems flashed across every screen. Several sections lost power, but the defenses held. For now, the commander immediately issued orders. Human warships launched from hidden hangars. Hundreds of fighters poured into space. The battle had begun. Vela watched the tactical display carefully. The attackers had superior numbers, but the station defenders knew the terrain. Human ships used asteroid fields as cover. Defense platforms created deadly crossfires. Enemy vessels suffered losses, yet they kept advancing. That worried Vela. Normal attackers would retreat after such resistance. These ships continued forward no matter the cost, almost as if failure was not an option. Hours passed. The fighting grew worse. Several defense platforms were destroyed. Entire sections of the station suffered damage. Emergency teams worked nonstop. Still, the defenders refused to surrender. Then another officer entered the command center. His face looked grim. "Commander, we've intercepted enemy communications." "Report." The officer hesitated. "They are not targeting civilians." Everyone became silent. Vela frowned. "What are they targeting?" The officer pulled up the transmission. Several highlighted coordinates appeared. Every location matched archive facilities, data centers, evidence storage rooms, investigation records. The attackers wanted information, not territory, not refugees. Information. The commander looked toward Vela. Now nobody had any doubt. The evidence she discovered was the true target. Suddenly another explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered. Several displays went dark. A security officer rushed forward. Enemy boarding teams have breached Sector 12. The room became silent. Boarding teams. The attackers had entered the station. The battle was no longer happening only in space. Now it was inside the facility itself. The commander immediately turned toward Vela. "We need to move you. I'm not leaving." "Inspector, the evidence is here." Vela's voice remained calm. "If they destroy it, everything we've uncovered disappears." The commander understood immediately. He nodded. Then he assigned an escort team. Within minutes, Vela and several security personnel were moving through the station. The corridors looked chaotic. Refugees crowded emergency shelters. Medical teams treated casualties. Smoke drifted through damaged sections. Far away, gunfire echoed. The enemy had already entered deeper levels. As they moved toward the archive complex, Vela noticed something strange. Human security forces were prioritizing civilian evacuations. Even during an active invasion, even while fighting for survival, they still focused on protecting others first. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Again and again, humanity placed lives above everything else, even their own safety. Eventually, they reached the archive vault. The massive doors remained sealed. Inside were files exposing conspiracy, the evidence that could bring down powerful council leaders. Vela began copying everything onto secure data drives. One backup, then another, then another. She was not taking chances. Suddenly, a loud impact shook the corridor. Enemy forces had arrived. Security teams immediately opened fire. The battle erupted only meters away. Energy weapons lit the hallway. Explosions echoed through the station. The archive vault trembled from nearby impacts. Vela continued copying files. Her hands moved faster. The data transfer felt painfully slow. Another explosion, then another. The security line began falling back. Enemy soldiers were pushing closer. The commander contacted her through comms. "Inspector, you need to leave." "Not yet. They're almost through." The final files finished transferring. Vela quickly secured the drives. At that exact moment, the outer archive wall exploded inward. Debris filled the room. Enemy troops appeared through the smoke. Security teams engaged them immediately. The firefight became chaos. Vela followed her escort through an emergency exit. The group moved quickly through maintenance tunnels. Behind them, the sounds of battle continued growing louder. Several times they nearly got trapped. Several times enemy patrols came dangerously close. But somehow they kept moving. Finally, they reached an evacuation shuttle. The pilot activated engines immediately. As the shuttle launched, Vela looked back through the rear viewport. The station remained under heavy attack. Fires burned across several sections. Defense platforms continued fighting. Human ships still protected the refugees. Even now, even during disaster, the shuttle entered hyperspace moments later. Only then did Vela allow herself to breathe. The evidence survived, at least part of it, enough to expose the truth, enough to reveal the conspiracy. But one terrifying reality remained. The people behind this operation were powerful enough to manipulate governments, powerful enough to start wars, powerful enough to erase entire stations. And now they knew she had the evidence. Vela stared at the secure data drives resting beside her seat. For the first time in her career, she understood the true danger she faced. She was no longer investigating corruption. She was carrying proof of it. And somewhere across the galaxy, some of the most powerful individuals in existence were already searching for her. Because if she reached the Galactic Council alive, everything would change. The shuttle traveled through hyperspace in complete silence. Inspector Vela Kor sat alone in a small briefing room. The secure data drives rested on the table before her. Inside those drives was enough evidence to shake the entire galaxy. Proof of corruption, proof of conspiracy, proof that powerful members of the Galactic Council had spent years framing humanity for crimes it never committed. The question was simple. Would anyone believe her? Vela had spent her career exposing lies. Yet this case was different. The people involved were not local politicians or greedy corporations. They were some of the most powerful leaders in existence, and they would not surrender quietly. 3 days later, The shining towers of the galactic capital appeared through her viewport. Normally the sight inspired confidence. Today it felt different, almost threatening. As her shuttle landed, security officers immediately surrounded the craft. For one brief moment, Vela wondered if they had come to arrest her. Instead, a council representative stepped forward. "The emergency hearing has been scheduled." Vela nodded. They moved quickly. The entire galaxy is watching. That did not surprise her. News of the station attack had already spread across countless systems. Rumors filled communication networks. Some claimed humanity was secretly preparing for war. Others claimed terrorists had attacked a humanitarian facility. Nobody knew the truth. Not yet, but they would soon. Hours later, Vela entered the Grand Council chamber. The sight was breathtaking. Thousands of representatives filled enormous rows of seats. Holographic screens floated throughout the hall. Journalists occupied every available platform. Billions of viewers watched through live broadcasts. This was no ordinary hearing. This was history. At the center of the chamber stood the human delegation. They looked calm, perhaps too calm. Despite years of accusations and investigations, they showed no fear. Across from them sat the council officials who had pushed hardest for humanity's punishment. Many wore confident smiles. They believed victory was close. They had no idea what Vela carried with her. The hearing began. A senior council chairman rose to speak. His voice echoed through the massive chamber. For years, humanity has been accused of violating interstellar law. Murmurs spread through the audience. The chairman continued. Unauthorized interventions, military expansion, political interference. Each accusation appeared on giant screens. The list seemed endless. The public watched carefully. The atmosphere grew tense. Then the chairman delivered the final statement. Today we determine whether humanity remains a trusted member of galactic civilization. Applause erupted from some sections. Others remained silent. The chairman turned toward Vela. Inspector Corps. She stood. You led this investigation. Every eye in the chamber focused on her. Thousands of faces. Billions more watching remotely. The moment had arrived. Present your findings. The room became completely silent. Vela stepped toward the center platform. For several seconds, she said nothing. She simply looked around the chamber, studying the faces, watching reactions. Some representatives looked curious, others nervous. A few seemed almost afraid. Interesting. Finally, she spoke. My investigation uncovered many things. The screens behind her activated. Images appeared. Destroyed colonies, refugee stations, human rescue fleets, medical operations, emergency evacuations. Confused whispers spread across the chamber. This was not what anyone expected. For years, Vela continued, humanity has been accused of interfering across the galaxy. More images appeared. Human ships rescuing civilians. Human doctors treating wounded refugees. Human engineers rebuilding devastated worlds. The whispers grew louder. Some representatives exchanged uncomfortable looks. Then one council member suddenly stood. This is irrelevant. Vela recognized him immediately. Counselor Rentau, one of the officials named in the classified files. Interesting. He was already nervous. Vela remained calm. No, Counselor, it is very relevant. She touched the control panel. The next images appeared. Secret financial records, hidden transactions, encrypted communications. The chamber fell silent again. Rentau's face turned pale. Then Vela delivered the first blow. Humanity did not organize the attacks they were accused of. Shock spread through the audience. The room erupted with voices. Representatives stood from their seats. Journalists rushed to record every moment. The chairman hammered for order. Eventually silence returned. Vela continued. The attacks were organized by criminal groups. New evidence appeared. Pirate fleets, bank transfers, secret contracts. Then came the final piece. The names. Several powerful council officials appeared on the giant screens. The chamber exploded into chaos. People shouted. Some representatives demanded explanations. Others demanded arrests. The accused officials looked horrified. Several immediately denied everything. Lies! Fabricated evidence. Human propaganda. Their voices echoed across the chamber. Vela expected that. She had prepared for it. One accusation alone would never be enough. The evidence mattered, but witnesses mattered more. She activated another display. The chamber doors opened. Everyone turned. A long procession entered. Refugees, hundreds of them, representatives from dozens of species. The same people Vela had met at the hidden station. The room became silent. One by one, they approached the witness platform. An elderly woman spoke first. She described how human ships saved her family during a planetary collapse. A former slave spoke next. Humans had freedom from pirates. Then came another witness, and another, and another. The testimonies continued for hours. Every story told the same truth. Humanity had spent years helping others, often in secret, often at great cost, without asking for rewards, without demanding loyalty, without expecting anything in return. The public broadcast carried every word. Across the galaxy, billions watched. Public opinion began changing. Fast, very fast. The accused council members realized the situation was collapsing. One of them suddenly attempted to leave. Security officers stopped him immediately. That single moment changed everything. Because innocent people do not usually flee. The chamber erupted again. More accusations surfaced. More evidence emerged. Investigators began reviewing records in real time. The conspiracy was unraveling before everyone's eyes. Then an emergency update arrived. Independent auditors had completed a preliminary review. The results appeared on the main screen. Evidence authentic. Financial records authentic. Communications authentic. Witness statements verified. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The conspiracy was real. Every major accusation against humanity was beginning to collapse. Vela finally allowed herself a small breath. Years of lives were dying, but the hearing was not over. Far from it. The chairman stood once again. His face looked grim. The evidence requires full verification. The chamber listened carefully. A final review will begin immediately. He paused, then looked directly toward the accused officials. Until that review is complete, all named parties are suspended from authority. The room exploded. Security forces moved instantly. Several council members were taken into custody. Others protested loudly. Some simply sat in stunned silence. History was changing in real time. Vela watched everything unfold. Yet deep inside, she knew one final battle remained. The truth was winning, but it had not fully won yet. The final review would decide everything. Humanity's future, the Council's future, perhaps even the future of the galaxy itself. And somewhere in the growing chaos, Vela realized something important. The investigation she had been sent to conduct was almost over, but the report she would eventually write would become the most important report in galactic history. The final review lasted 12 days. 12 days that felt like 12 years. Across the galaxy, billions waited for answers. News channels operated around the clock. Every communication network discussed the same topic: humanity, the conspiracy, the hidden station, the corruption inside the Galactic Council. No one talked about anything else. Meanwhile, inside the capital, hundreds of investigators worked without rest. Financial records were examined. Military reports were reviewed. Witnesses were interviewed. Encrypted communications were decrypted. Every piece of evidence Inspector Vela Core had recovered was tested again and again. Nothing was ignored. Nothing was rushed. The galaxy demanded certainty. And certainty was exactly what the investigators found. One by one, every accusation against humanity collapsed. The alleged illegal military bases, human emergency response stations, the supposed territorial expansion, temporary refugee centers, the claims of political interference, rescue operations requested by local civilians. The evidence was overwhelming. For years, humanity had been blamed for actions that either never happened or had been completely misrepresented. The truth slowly became impossible to deny. But that was only half the story. The deeper investigators dug, the worse the corruption appeared. Secret funding networks stretched across dozens of star systems. Council officials had hidden money through shell organizations. Pirate groups had received military-grade equipment. False reports had been manufactured. Witnesses had been bribed. Entire investigations had been manipulated. The conspiracy was larger than anyone imagined. Even Vela found herself shocked. She had expected corruption. She had not expected an entire network. Some members of the council had spent years protecting their influence. Humanity had become a threat to them, not because humans wanted power, but because humans kept helping people. Every rescue mission earned trust. Every humanitarian operation built alliances. Every colony saved by human fleets became another voice supporting Earth. The corrupt officials feared that growing influence. So they chose a simple solution: destroy humanity's reputation. And if necessary, destroy humanity itself. The plan had almost worked. Almost. On the morning of the 13th day, the final hearing began. The Grand Council chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives crowded every section. Journalists occupied every available platform. Additional viewers watched from neighboring halls. Outside the building, enormous public screens broadcast the proceedings. Across the galaxy, trillions waited. Inspector Vela Kor stood quietly near the center platform. For the first time in weeks, she felt calm. The evidence no longer needed her protection. The truth could now protect itself. The chairman entered. The chamber immediately became silent. Nobody wanted to miss a single word. The chairman activated the main display. Thousands of documents appeared. Verified reports, financial records, witness testimonies, investigation summaries, the final conclusions. His voice echoed throughout the enormous hall. The independent review has been completed. Every person listened. The evidence has been confirmed. A ripple moved through the audience. The chairman continued. All major accusations against humanity are false. The chamber exploded with noise. Applause erupted. Some representatives cheered openly. Others simply looked stunned. Human delegates remained seated, calm as always. The chairman raised his hand for silence. Gradually, the room settled. The investigation further confirms the existence of a coordinated conspiracy involving multiple council officials. Several names appeared on the giant screen. Gasps echoed through the hall. The accused officials were already in custody. Many now faced life imprisonment. Others would likely spend the rest of their lives answering for their crimes. The chairman paused before speaking again. His next words carried enormous weight. The Galactic Council formally clears humanity of all charges. The room erupted again, this time even louder. Representatives stood. Many applauded. Others bowed their heads respectfully toward the human delegation. Years of suspicion vanished in a single moment. Humanity had been judged, and humanity had been proven innocent. Yet the hearing was not over. The chairman turned toward Inspector Velacor. Inspector, she stepped forward. The council requests your final report. The entire chamber became silent. Everyone knew this moment mattered. Vela had begun the investigation. Now she would end it. A small data pad rested in her hand. Inside was her official conclusion, the document that would enter history. She looked around the chamber. Thousands of faces stared back, some hopeful, some curious, some nervous. Then she began speaking. When I accepted this assignment, I expected to find violations. The room remained silent. I expected corruption, abuse of power, disregard for galactic law. She paused. Her eyes moved toward the human delegation. Instead, I found something else. Images appeared behind her. Human rescue fleets, medical teams, engineers rebuilding colonies, refugees arriving safely at the hidden station. The audience watched quietly. Vela continued. I found a species that repeatedly places itself in danger for strangers. Another image appeared. The battle in the Helio sector. Human warships protecting civilians. Many representatives remembered seeing those broadcasts. I found people willing to spend resources, ships, and lives helping those who could offer nothing in return. The images continued changing. World after world. Mission after mission. Acts of service. acts of sacrifice, acts of courage. Then Vela looked back toward the audience. Humanity's greatest violation was simple. The room became completely silent. Not even journalists moved. Everyone waited. Vela activated the final page of her report. 3 words appeared on the giant screen. Close the file. The chamber remained silent for several seconds. Then Vela explained, humanity's crime was refusing to stand aside while innocent people suffered. Many representatives lowered their heads. Others nodded slowly. The truth carried more weight than any speech. The chairman accepted the report. Official records updated immediately. The investigation was over. Humanity was cleared. The file was closed. But something unexpected happened next. Representatives began standing, one after another. Then entire sections of the chamber rose together. A standing ovation, not for victory, not for politics, for respect. The applause spread throughout the hall. It continued for nearly 5 minutes. Human delegates looked genuinely uncomfortable with the attention, which somehow made the moment even more sincere. Later that evening, after the celebrations ended, Vela stood alone at a large observation window overlooking the Capitol. The city lights stretched endlessly beneath the night sky. Behind her, history had changed. Ahead of her, the future waited. A message appeared on her terminal. She opened it. The sender was Earth Command. The contents were brief. A distant frontier colony needed emergency assistance after a catastrophic storm. Several human rescue fleets were already mobilizing. Vela smiled faintly. No speeches, no celebrations, no victory tours. The investigation had barely ended, and humanity was already on its way to help someone else. She watched the stars quietly. Then the rescue fleets jumped into hyperspace, racing toward another crisis, another world, another group of strangers in need. And for the first time, Inspector Velacour fully understood humanity. They did not help because it was profitable. They did not help because it was easy. They helped because someone needed help. And no investigation in the galaxy could ever find fault in that.